What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. And if you follow me for any time as of now, you do know that I typically do focus on growth speculative stocks. So before we jump in, let's make one thing absolutely clear. These are not safe investments. This is not financial advice, and I am absolutely not telling you what to do with your capital. These companies are smaller in scale, smaller in market cap, they're more volatile, and they carry much higher risk than your average blue chip stock. I'm not telling anyone what to do with their capital. Instead, what it is I'm trying to do is I want to explain why I'm personally still bullish on these four companies I'm going to be mentioning and why I believe they have significant long-term potential if management continues executing. And the four companies that we will be discussing will be none other than what you see on the screen right now, being Redwire. We also will be covering BBAI, Castellum CTM, which is a big favorite among our community, and four will be none other than CLSQ, ticker symbol LAES. So let's jump into it. Starting off with Redwire, we do see here it closed the day at $10.95. Or no, I'm sorry. It closed the day at $10.93, but we're up 2 cents in the after hours session. And out of the four companies on today's list, Redwire is probably the most established compared to the rest. What makes Redwire so interesting is that it gives investors exposure to one of the fastest growing industries in the world right now, and that would be none other than the space economy. The company, it develops satellite technology, spacecraft systems, space infrastructure, advanced manufacturing, and don't forget about support. It supports both government and commercial space missions. They are already working with organizations that are very big, like NASA, for example, and they have continued expanding their defense and their commercial relationships. And one thing that I really like is that Redwire isn't simply betting on just one product alone. They're building an entire portfolio on technologies that could benefit as space commercialization continues expanding over the next decade. And as governments continue investing in national security, satellites, space infrastructure, and commercial launches, and as commercial launches continue to increase, I believe that Redwire is positioned to benefit from these long-term trends. And of course, you do have to remember that even though that they are continuing to position themselves well, execution still matters a lot. But among the speculative space companies, I think Redwire remains, well, I wouldn't say remains one of the strongest, but it is just the space stock that is speculative that I want to cover in today's video, because there are other stocks that I think are good, like Planet Labs. Lunar's pretty good. Black Sky's pretty good. Rocket Lab is very established right now. But I think all of these stocks do have long-term potential, but just for right now, I'm covering why it is that I like Redwire personally. Now, after that brief summary, let's talk about a stock that we have been posting a lot over this week, and that's none other than BBAI. This stock has become one of the most controversial AI names in the market right now. And the bears will immediately point to dilution, especially what we just saw not too long ago. And I posted about it, how in the annual shareholder meeting, there was a poll to decide whether shareholders approve the authorization for 500 million additional shares. And that poll was approved. So currently there is a total of 1 billion authorized shares for BBAI. And again, you do have to remember that issued shares and authorized shares are completely different. I've said that countless times for every time I mention the additional authorized shares for BBAI. So just keep that in mind. So even though that they are authorized, that does not mean that the shares they have been immediately issued just right then and there. That's not the case. But what it does is, in my opinion, which is a good thing, but other people view it differently, is the fact that it gives management more flexibility to be able to operate with a little more leeway, a little bit more of a cushion room to, if needed, issue those additional shares and have additional funds to be able to expand the business in ways that management sees fit to help grow the company. But what that also does is it dilutes the shareholders and it gives them a smaller ownership percentage. And even if management can justify the dilution in a way that shows that even though that they had to dilute and there was some pain in the short term, in the long term, if they can add value, if they can't add value in a way that justifies their dilution or any needs to dilute in the future, shareholders long term, they may not care the dilution occurred if it actually adds value, but in the short term, it definitely would cause some pain. And one thing is that Big Bear AI, what they're not trying to do is they're not trying to become another, well, I don't want to call it generic because ChatGPT isn't generic. You know, they're pretty revolutionary with the things that they do, and it's artificial intelligence, the AI, everybody loves it. But what I am trying to say is they're not just trying to copy that and just go after the same model and do business the same way that ChatGPT has done, because they focus on something completely different. What Big Bear AI is applying and what they focus on is relating to artificial intelligence to government agencies. And not just government agencies, but they're also very focused on defense, military operations, logistics, intelligence, and national security. And those are markets where AI adoption is still in the early stages. And the company has continued improving its backlog. That's been a very that's been a point, not a point of concern, but a point that the bulls like to bring up, because what is let me just make sure it's like 200 some, I think it's 273 million. Let me just make sure that was the correct number. Was I correct? Was I on the money? No, I was not. It is $281.9 million. So my bad, guys. But regardless, the backlog is growing, so that does show promise and something that bulls bring up when they talk about Big Bear AI. And AI governments, they continue increasing investments into artificial intelligence, automation, and defense technologies. And I do personally believe that Big Bear AI has an opportunity to grow alongside those trends. And it's certainly a speculative investment, but if management continues executing and financial performance improves, I really do think, and again, just my opinion, not financial advice, but I really do think that the long-term opportunity is most definitely still there for Big Bear AI. Now, let's talk about a fan favorite on this YouTube channel amongst my audience, and that is none other than ticker symbol CTM, otherwise known as Castellum Incorporated. Quick reminder before we continue, if you're enjoying the content and want to connect with the community, check out the first link below for the free InvestQ community. And if you want access to advanced stock research and tools, the second link is a Prophecy 7-day trial for just $7. And last, if you want daily market updates and behind the scenes content, follow me on Instagram using the third link in the description. Now, let's get back to the video. Now, as you all know, I've covered this stock many times, and this is probably, no, it most definitely is the company I've covered the closest out of them all. I wouldn't say I'm married to the stock because I am very honest. I'm always thorough and I do my due diligence, and I never marry a stock, even one that my loyal audience members love to tune in for. If I do see that my thesis is broken, I will be honest and be that transparent, but that's not the case for CTM. And there's lots of reasons why even while I do have risk management in place, I am overly bullish on CTM, but doing my best to take the blinders off and not just be blindly bullish. I have a thesis that is still valid and continuing to grow that makes me more bullish as time goes on, and I see more PR and the due diligence that both I have done and other investors I know of in other communities, especially the Discord, have done to make me believe and see the clues and hints at how it is CTM is expanding to give me this bullish opinion for the stock. Because management does continue to execute, and the company has continued winning defense work while expanding its cybersecurity capabilities and pursuing both organic growth and acquisitions. And recently, what Castellum has done is they've secured additional Navy-related work while expanding its cybersecurity while expanding its cybersecurity capabilities and pursuing both organic, while they have been pursuing that organic growth and the acquisition they plan to do in the upcoming months. And specifically, what I'm talking about real quick is none other than the $4 million contract that the subsidiary SSI won, and the $250 million LAES vehicle contract that they won themselves in. So, yeah, how they won the position on a $250 million U.S. Navy Logistics IT multiple award contract. And then more recently, they had the article that I can pull up on the Discord as well. 1 second. So it was a $4 million contract that SSI won. Let me just pull that up for you. So, oh, hold on, I just missed it. Yeah, right there. Yeah, so Custom subsidiary SSI wins $4 million U.S. Navy ADMACS modernization subcontract. So they've been making some wins lately, and one thing management has been repeatedly emphasizing is how there is growing higher quality recurring revenue while expanding annualized revenue significantly over the next year. And even though that's not the only reason I'm bullish, another reason why I'm personally bullish is because the company continues strengthening relationships throughout the defense ecosystem. And we have seen subsidiaries like Corvus supporting larger defense contractors, and Castellum, it continues positioning itself to benefit from increasing government cybersecurity spending. And cybersecurity most definitely is not becoming less important. In fact, it's a growing demand, and it's becoming very important. And I would say it's a growing demand over the coming years. Year over year, the demand for it increases. And while CTM does remain speculative, and execution absolutely does matter, but if management continues delivering the way that they have been, I believe this company has significant upside and is a asymmetric bet with unlimited opportunities potentially. Again, not financial advice, just my opinion. And the last stock we're going to be covering today is none other than COSQ, ticker symbol LAES. And I also do want to say it's kind of funny. I did not know for the longest time that the reason the ticker symbol is LAES is because it's spelled CO backwards, so silly me. But getting away from that side note, sorry guys. Out of today's 4 companies, this is probably the highest risk investment, most likely. And it's also one of the companies that I'm personally watching closely. I don't know if I'm watching it the closest, but I'm definitely watching it very closely. Definitely watching LAES as closer than I am Redwire, but probably around the same closeness of CTM and BBAI, in my opinion. But anyways, one thing that really has stood out to me about COSQ is over the past several weeks is just how much active management has been and how much PR we've seen. Again, look at this. Oh, like how much over the past few weeks? You got June 25th, June 24th, June 23rd, another one on the 23rd, the 22nd, just day after day after day of more investor relations and more PR. So it honestly does feel like there's been a constant stream of press releases, which is very good and I like to see. We've seen announcements involving post-quantum cybersecurity, support for President Trump's recent quantum executive order, and even though that doesn't directly benefit the way it would bigger quantum stuff like Inflection or D-Wave or IBM, big market cap companies like that, obviously COSQ is going to benefit from this as it benefits the quantum market as a whole. But that still was a very good bullish point, and I did make a video on that. Check that out in one of the previous videos I made about 2 or 3 days ago. But anyways, they've had participation in major defense and technology conferences, and Carlos Moreira, the CEO, has been very vocal and has been showing himself in a lot of different press releases. So, I mean, he spoke at the Maxim Group Defense. Let's see. What else? There was another thing that he was in. Trying to find. Yeah. To lead quantum semiconductor discussions. Yeah, so he's been doing lots of things and management has been doing a good job. Now, of their biggest announcement yet, SealsQ and WiseKey, this was very recent, just announced a creation of the Quantissimo, which is a proposed quantum-focused platform through a planned business combination of Gig Capital 8. Now, according to the company's announcement, the combined business is expected to begin with an initial enterprise value of approximately $575 million. Now, as you do see right here, right underneath the headline, I can't highlight it, but it's right here where my mouse clicker is. So, with management outlining a long-term goal of expanding that platform through acquisitions and ultimately targeting approximately $2 billion in enterprise value, it's important to remember these are company projections and the proposed transaction is still subject to due diligence, regulatory approvals, shareholder approvals, financing, and other customary closing conditions. And what I do find interesting is the strategy itself, because rather than focusing on just one part of quantum technology, Quantissimo is designed to combine quantum technologies. Not only that, but they're also designed to combine intellectual property, strategic investments, partnerships, and acquisitions into a broader quantum platform. And the announcement also specifically referenced the recent US quantum executive order as supporting the company's long-term vision for quantum technologies. Now, beyond that, SealsQ continues positioning itself around post-quantum semiconductors and cybersecurity solutions for defense, healthcare, automotive, industrial automation, IoT devices, and other critical infrastructure. And whether you're a fan of LAES or you hate it, I think there's one thing that is undeniable for the stock, and that's the fact that management has been incredibly active, and the company has consistently been communicating with investors and announcing new initiatives. Now that, in my opinion, is the next step to execution. And even though there are still legitimate concerns for SealsQ, you can't deny the fact that management is putting their front foot at the door and making efforts to communicate with their investors, which is something that investors love to see. So let me know what it is you think. Please feel free to comment below what it is you think about these 4 speculative stocks. And also, if you did feel I added any value to your investing journey, please hit the like and subscribe button below and comment what it is you want to see in future upcoming videos. But with that being said, guys, stay safe, keep making good decisions with your long-term portfolios, and I'll see you on the next video.